Hey, what's up, guys? CombatCritique here. Let's take a look at this upcoming fight between Bam Bam, Tai Tuivasa, and Alexander Volkov. Let's get started. If we look at the records of these two guys, starting with Bam Bam, he has 19 fights in total, and he has won 14 of his 19 fights, lost 5. If we take a look at his 14 wins, 13 of his 14 wins have been via knockout, and just one win via decision. He has no submission wins on his record. Now, if we take a look at his 5 losses, he has been KO'd 3 times and he has lost via submission once and also via decision once. Now, let's take a look at Alexander Volkov's records. Volkov has 46 fights in total, so significantly more MMA experience compared to Tai Tuivasa, and he's won 36 of his 46 fights and lost 10. If we talk about his 36 wins, he has 24 wins via knockout, 3 wins via submission, and 9 wins via decision. And if we take a look at his 10 losses, he's been knocked out just twice. In over 45 fights, this man has been KO'd just 2 times, and he's lost via submission thrice. And the most he's lost is via decision, which is 5 times. Now let's take a look at the physical and career statistics of both these guys. Starting with the height, it is 6 feet 2 for Tai Tuivasa and it is 6'7" for Alexander Volkov. So Volkov is the bigger guy and he will have a 5-inch height advantage. Weight, so Bam Bam Tai Tuivasa comes in at usually 264 pounds, whereas Alexander Volkov weighs in around 250 pounds. If we talk about the reach, it is 75 inches for Tai Tuivasa and 80 inches for Volkov. So again, a huge reach advantage goes to Volkov. He will have a 5-inch reach advantage. If we talk about the stance, so Tai Tuivasa is a southpaw fighter, whereas Volkov is an orthodox fighter. And if we talk about the date of birth, so basically in the age department, Tai Tuivasa is the younger fighter and Volkov is older. However, this is the heavyweight division. I don't think age matters a lot in this division. Now let's take a look at the career stats, starting with the strikes landed per minute. So this signifies the number of significant strikes that you land on your opponent per minute. This is 4.1 for Bam Bam and it is 4.89 for Alexander Volkov. So Volkov will have an advantage here. He is landing more significant strikes on his opponents per minute. Next up, we have the striking accuracy, which is 49% for Tuivasa and it is 57% for Volkov. So again, Volkov will have an advantage here as well. He is more accurate with his strikes. Next up, we have the strikes absorbed per minute. Now this is the opposite of strikes landed per minute. This signifies the number of significant strikes that you absorb from your opponent per minute. This is 4.46 for Tai Tuivasa and it is 3 for Volkov. In this case, the guy with the lower number has an advantage because he is getting hit less. So again, the advantage goes to Volkov here. Striking defense is 45% for Tuivasa and it is 53% for Volkov. So again, the advantage goes to Volkov. Overall, so far, every metric that we have seen in the striking department favors Volkov. And couple that with the fact that Volkov has been knocked out just 2 times in over 45 fights. And if we talk about Bam Bam Tai Tuivasa, so in 19 fights he has been already been knocked more times than Volkov. So I think this pretty much tells you why Volkov should be a favorite to win this fight. I don't need to go any further, even though I will. Now let's take a look at the grappling, wrestling, and BJJ stats. First up, we have the takedown average, which is straight up 0 for Tuivasa. Tuivasa has never attempted a takedown in the UFC or he's gotten a takedown in the UFC. And if we talk about Volkov, it is 0.51. So a slight advantage here goes to Volkov, even though I don't think both of these guys will wrestle in this fight. Takedown accuracy again 0% for Tai Tuivasa and it is 70% for Volkov. So the advantage clearly goes to Volkov. Takedown defense is 52% for Tai Tuivasa and it is 73% for Volkov. So again the advantage goes to Volkov. Submission average is 0. So Tai Tuivasa has never attempted a submission in the UFC, whereas it is 0.1 for Volkov. Again, a slight advantage goes to Volkov. Overall, in the height, reach, and all the 8 metrics that we have seen, they all favor Volkov. I think he should be a clear favorite to win this fight. But let's go further. Let's look at the significant strikes by position landed by both these guys. If we start with Tai Tuivasa, so 69% of all his strikes are from the standing position, 27% are from the clinch, and just 4% on the ground. And where if we compare this with Alexander Volkov, so 80% of all the strikes that Volkov throws are from the standing position, 14% from the clinch, and 5% on the ground. What is the difference here is that Volkov is using less strikes from the clinch, whereas Bam Bam is using more strikes from the clinch. Now let's take a look at the significant strikes by target. So if we start with Tai Tuivasa, 63% of all his strikes are to the head, 17% are to the body, and 19% are to the leg. Compare that with Volkov, 60% of all his strikes are to the head, 23% to the body, and 17% to the leg. So again, both these guys are pretty even. Bam Bam likes to go to the leg a little bit more often than Volkov, whereas Volkov likes to go to the body a little bit more than Bam Bam. Now let's take a look at some of the previous fights of these two guys, starting with Bam Bam Tai Tuivasa. So Tai has hit a rough patch in his career. In his last two fights, he was KO'd first by most recently by Sergey Pavlovich in the first round, and before that by Cyril Gane in the third round. Before that, he beat Derek Lewis via knockout in the second round. He beat Augusto Sakai also via knockout in the second round. Greg Hardy via knockout in the very first round. And he also beat Harry Hunsaker via TKO first round. Stephen Struve via knockout in the very first round. And before that, he was also on a similar kind of a losing streak as he is right now, where he lost to Sergey Spivak via arm triangle choke in the second round. He lost a decision to Blagoy Ivanov, and he was TKO'd by JDS in the second round. If we take a look at Alexander Volkov's record, so in his previous fight, he beat Alexander Romanov via TKO in the very first round, and before that, he beat Rosenstruik via TKO also in the first round. So he's looking good. His last fight happened in March of this year, so he's not taking a lot of time off. He is quickly turning back to fight once again. Before that, he lost to Tom Aspinall via straight armbar in the first round. And before that, he beat Marcin Tybura via unanimous decision. He lost to Cyril Gane via unanimous decision. And if you compare Cyril Gane, you'll find him here. So Cyril Gane beat both these guys. He beat Tai Tuivasa via knockout in the third round. Whereas if we talk about Alexander, he beat him via unanimous decision. Before that, he beat Alistair Overeem via TKO in the second round. Also beat Walt Harris via TKO second round. And before that, he lost to Curtis Blades via unanimous decision and beat Greg Hardy also via unanimous decision. So both these guys have fought the big names in their division. I think Tai Tuivasa has hit a rough patch in his career, and we have seen at all the metrics, striking, wrestling, grappling, BJJ, even the height and the reach, they don't favor Tai Tuivasa. They all favor Alexander Volkov, and for these reasons, I am picking Volkov to win this fight. I think he should be a pretty big favorite for this fight. Looking at the metrics that we have seen, they all favor him. That's why I'm picking him to win this fight. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next video.